All right, here we go. I think my mic is on. Good deal. All right, everybody, welcome to another Tuesday night Principal Chiro broadcast brought to you from DE and Band of Brothers. You might be wondering where I'm wearing my New York Giants shirt when they just fired their coach and got rid of their general manager and locked up the 5th pick in the draft. But it's because our speaker tonight was wearing a Dallas jersey, so I had to go get mine. So, I wanted to, before I forget, scrolling on the bottom of the screen here is a number. A lot of you might get the text that I send some mornings, most mornings, it depends, with quotes and things and the Tuesday night call. But this is from the DE office. This 833-313-1209 is actually going to give you like information on hotel updates and stuff about the meetings and things of that nature. More from the DE, directly from the DE office. So you text DE, text the 2 letters DE to that number 833-313-1209, and that'll get you signed up on those. Actually, I need to do that because this is the first time I've seen the number. So that's kind of exciting. It'll be a good way to communicate from DE office to all our potential attendees and attendees. So speaking of that, we are back up some on my website. Thank you. My shirt's off. I can't. My chair's pressed, but thank you, babe. We coming up on DE. So we are January. There it is, January 20th, 23rd in Sarasota at the Hyatt Regency. So if you have not registered, I think the hotel is either sold out or very close. I think we have a backup one right across the street, but lifede.com. And if you need to, call Kat from that number or register right there. And then because we're doing Sarasota in January, which would be nice to get out of the cold. And then in April, we're doing it again in Sarasota. So we have 2 in a row in Sarasota. Should be exciting. Great hotel. Always a great venue for us. Always a lot of fun. Great place to bring the family and kids. So be there because the last one was awesome. So with that being said, we have a great friend of DE and a great friend of mine speaking tonight. And kind of on short notice, but we're trying to get all of our schedule from now till the next DE, till April. And we're a little bit behind, but this one graciously accepted our invitation. Most of you know him. He's been around DE, not as much, but a DE guy through and through. And he practices here in the state of Georgia. He is about to be more involved with the GCC, which we're excited about. With no further ado, Dr. Rene Acosta, please take it away, man. We love you and appreciate you. Thanks for doing this.
All right. Can everybody hear me okay? I don't know if I get a thumbs up or not. First of all, I'm super honored to be on tonight. Brian, I love you. Cowboys. The last time that I had a Cowboys jersey, it had the number 12 on it, Roger Staubach. That was my era back in the 70s. I was just talking to Brian. He's wearing the Giants jersey and just talking about when you're a kid. We really didn't watch. I haven't watched a lot of football really actually for a lot of years, but Riley started getting into football. So we've been watching games and, trying to support him, stuff like that. And then of course, I've always loved the Cowboys, and I actually got a chance to go on the field with them when I was a kid. And Tony Dorsett was the running back and Roger Staubach. But how about them dogs, huh? Them Bulldogs. That was an amazing game. And we're encouraging Riley. As a matter of fact, I argue with Riley all the time to get him to kind of work out, because I'm kind of teaching him that it's not just playing football, that you got to train and work out and that sort of thing. So I told him the other day, I said, I'm not going to nag you anymore. If you don't want to play football, you don't got to play football. Nobody's making you play football. But if you want to play, you got to start working out. You got to start training, and you got to do it on your own. Like we can't, I can't be nagging you to do it. So I remember it's a couple weeks ago, I got up for work, and on the way out, I said, now today's such an important day for you, Riley. And he's like, what is it? And I said, well, today you're going to decide if you want to be a Georgia Bulldog. And I said, now don't tell me now. I'm going to go to work and you take the day. But you decide. And if you decide you're going to be a bulldog, then you got to get your workout in, and, you let me know. So he came home, he told me he worked out and he wanted to be a bulldog. So I think that's pretty cool. But it's kind of cool to put that in a kid's mind. It's not that far away. He's 11. So, we tell him, we're like, hey, these guys are like 18 years old, 18 to 23 out there on that field. He's like, what? I'm like, yeah, it's not that far away. I really, in good, true DE fashion, have no idea what I was going to talk about tonight. I do have a couple things on my mind. One of the things that I think that I would talk about, because first of all, it's so exciting to connect with you guys tonight, with my DE family. And I do, I don't have, I'm a DE chiropractor. So, I work and I take care of my family, and, my friends are, my DE friends. So it's great to connect tonight with you guys. And I think that's part of what this is. These calls are about, connecting. And so hopefully, I say something that helps somebody, stay connected or get connected. But, a couple things that I was going to talk about. But one thing is, I was in private, for folks that don't know me, my name's Rene. I practice in Georgia. And for about 14 and a half years, I was in private practice, meaning a practice that I owned. Most of that time, if not all of it, in Sandy Springs, Georgia. And there was a confluence of events came together. One, my wife and I wanted to move. We wanted to move away from that city, but I had built up a practice that was very, very easy and very, very hard to walk away from. And so we weren't really too sure what to do, but we did move. We did go ahead and move away from Sandy Springs, and then I commuted into work for a while. I opened a second office, and the idea was to kind of build up that office and then let go of the other office. But at the same time, we had always dreamt of owning some land in the Georgia mountains, and that started looking like that was actually going to happen. And so it was a confluence of events. We moved. We did find some land, and so it just kind of worked out where it was like, okay, we could, leave this practice, but and then move, to where the region that we wanted to be in. But then the question was, should I start another office? And, minus some details, we weren't, ready to do full-time things. There's just some details there. But so there was a joint chiropractic in Dawsonville, Georgia, just getting a little bit closer to where it's the most northern joint, and a little bit closer to where our property was and where we were looking to live and move. And that was it. That was a question whether we wanted to start another office so I walked into the joint chiropractic, which I honestly never thought I would do. It was really kind of interesting. It almost was like going in there was almost like jumping off a cliff. It was a very strange feeling, but I went in there and asked them if there was an opportunity there. And there was a very good opportunity to become the clinic director of that clinic. So when I was contemplating whether I would do that or not, my very best friend in the world overdosed, fentanyl overdose, and passed away. And the interesting thing about that is that I don't know if he had not passed away, I probably would not have made the decision to go to the joint chiropractic. And looking back on it now, I know that it's where God wanted me to be, where God wants me to be now. But, I tell people that his death was kind of like the wind in the sail, where I just put the boat, in the river and let go, let go and let God. And so that confluence of events kind of transpired, and that's kind of what happened. Now, what's interesting about it is that when I walked in there, of course, I didn't know some of these things, but there are 42, I think there's 42 joint chiropractics in Georgia. And that one that I walked into was absolutely dead last in Georgia for revenue and visits. They had just had their main doctor there that left there and poached the clinic. So it was just kind of, I think they were doing less than 20 visits a day. And anyway, and so I've been there about 2.5 years, and I started, and what was interesting was that on paper, it didn't look like I was going to make the money that I was used to making. And, but it was interesting because I didn't care. It was, I knew, I'd heard this before, and I don't know who said this. I wouldn't be surprised if it was Brian. But I remember one of the DE guys just saying, when you're doing it, you could do it in the desert. You just know, you have that confidence that you could open up in the desert, and make it happen. And so that's the feeling that I had probably for the first time in my career. It didn't matter. It didn't matter what it looked like. I just knew. I said, it doesn't matter, because, and part of it was that, my practice at that time was also doing very, very, very well. And so I knew that I had momentum going, and it didn't matter. I was like, I could be in the desert, and I'm just going to make this happen, and it's going to be awesome. And, so that's what I did. I just started working and started grinding it out. And some of the interesting things that has come out of it is that, I started bringing that practice up, and ownership and management, they wanted to know what I was doing. Then they asked me if I would train some of their doctors. At first, it was in another clinic that was not doing well, so I agreed to that. And what I actually started implementing in my own office was training. I was doing monthly training with the other doctor that was there and with our staff. And then, so management asked me if I would train these other doctors in this other clinic. Then they asked me if their other doctors could come and sit in on trainings with me, so I agreed to that. And, and that just kind of parlayed into, so, now like every month I do training with, it's 12 different clinics. It could be 25, 26 doctors every month that I'm doing trainings with. Doctors that are hired in this network of 12 clinics will go to my office, and they do a few days of training with me. So, and what's really been interesting about that, and I think is that for a lot of these people, it's the first time that they hear about DE, first time they hear about really the principle of chiropractic. I talk about Dr. Sid. I'll ask these young doctors that come out of Life University. I'm like, who Dr. Sid Williams is, and start talking about that and talking about him. And in some way it's just kind of turned into this, and these trainings will be like these little mini philosophy things. And sometimes these doctors will actually complain. They want more than nuts and bolts. But I try to tell them that if you don't know who you are, why you're doing what you're doing, the rest of that doesn't matter. And so, but anyway, it's been very interesting because I get to see these doctors that come right out of school, or maybe they've been practicing in personal injury for a long time. And now they're in a straight chiropractic environment. And I just get to meet, and see kind of what's going on. And I've got a lot of opinions about all that, but, one thing that's interesting about this talk, Katrina and I were discussing before we got on the call tonight, the last few years, I've gotten kind of quieter. I'm whether he knows it or not, and I think he does know, but, somebody who really heavily influences me is Dr. Walter Sanchez. I really, really look up to that guy. And one of the things that he taught me is that, you don't have to be, loud. And so, I've really been I've actually been trying to work on that because sometimes you kind of see like, the loudest people getting the most attention, maybe they're not seeing that many people, in the office. And so often, you got these quieter folks that are, doing what I want to be doing. So, I'll never forget visiting Walter Sanchez's office. and I've listened to him give many DE talks, and just that speaking to me that it's like, hey, you don't have to be a loud mouth, boisterous all the time. And for the last few years, I've really gotten quiet and gotten to work. I remember many years ago, Brian Lieberman, he always was talking about people, getting the hell off of Facebook, not wasting their time on there. And so you're never going to see me. You never see me debating anybody on Facebook. I don't. I see what's going on in the world and all the different things that are going on, and I try not to get too political or opinionated, and get into all that, and just get kind of quiet and do my work. And and for me, that's turned into, for the first time in my life, I'm seeing more people than I've ever seen in chiropractic. I make more money than I've ever made. So I think there's just something to that, just to, to stay focused and not get distracted. And for me, that just has gotten all about, the goal setting, which I used to be terrible at, but, every morning I look at my goals, for the office, and I'm always looking at my goals for the month, which I never used to do it. I never did that. I was just kind of maybe just scattered all over the place. So now I'm just, I actually think about, Oase, Oase will say, I'm just a broken record, and that's how I am now. I'm just a broken record. I'm just a broken record. I have, kind of just a one-track mind lately, and it's just always about just seeing more people. How do I see more people? One of the things that I got very serious into doing was training, procedures, scripting. I've gotten very, very, very good at that. And so the numbers are all, good. They're all up, and they all reinforce kind of the idea that, that I can just kind of quietly, go to work, and that's been a great thing. And I could talk about, oh man, so much stuff, I guess, but just on that note, I was, I trained with, I have to talk about Dr. Rick Franks, because I coached with him for a solid year, a few years back. And that's one of the pivotal things in my life. I can't say, I could say so much about it. But it was like the first time that I really started to take seriously the idea of training, doing a lot of the things, you hear, Sigafus, would talk about like how many people he was seeing, and he would kind of give you his number and whether he was really seeing them or not. But the point is that he was seeing them. And when I was training with Dr. Franks, and I was, so I would go into the office and I'd say, okay, today, I want to see 100 people. So I would do mock adjustments, do mock consultations, or mock x-ray setups, plus the patients that I was seeing. So, I might've been seeing 30 or 35 people a day, and, actual people. And then I would fit in, the other 70 or 65 visits. And one of the most humbling things that happened to me was that, I couldn't see 100 even fake visits. And it was very humbling. And it taught me that it's like, oh yeah, if they drop the bus off of patients in your office, it doesn't mean that you could process them or see them. Because I think, a lot of chiropractors get the idea. They just think, well, you have to actually build yourself up physically, mentally. Your procedures, your scripting have to be, so second nature. Everything, you have to be able to process that, not talking too much with the patients and saying what you're supposed to be saying, on the visits. But I remember just doing that, doing fake visits. And it's funny. It's like, cause I train these young docs and I say, hey, that's what you should do. You should do mock adjustments, give them names, give them, a condition or their problem, and, talk to them and do table talk and drop the drops or do the adjustments. But, the sad thing is that, a lot of these young docs don't do it, So, but it's a process. Some people, get there faster than others, and some, it just takes a while. But it took a while for me to kind of understand that, that you have to be able to physically do it, mentally do it. You have to know why you're doing it. One of the most freeing things, I remember a couple of things that, Dr. Frank said to me that, just like he said, I'm not here to prove chiropractic. I'm not a researcher, you know, I'm a chiropractor. I'm just delivering the goods. And I remember that freed me, from that moment on, I never cared. And as a matter of fact, I did put that somewhere, but, from that moment on, I never cared, um, to really explain it, to get into debates about chiropractic with people or what it is or how it works. And, I was, cause that's not me. I was like, no, I'm just kind of a grunt. I walk around tables all day. I tell these young docs, I say, hey, like the job is walking around tables all day, um, so, I'm not a research guy. And so I don't debate it. I don't get into it. Um, so I remember Rick Frank saying that, and it was so freeing because it just, that was it. From that day on, I was like, just free. I was like, oh my God, my job is not proving it. It's just delivering it. It's like, it's just doing it. I mean, so many things changed for me. Another thing that was really cool that he said, just because I'm talking about Dr. Rick Franks, is he said, I think my job is more important than a surgeon, because not everybody needs a surgeon, but everybody needs a chiropractor. I remember that. Some pretty cool stuff. But yeah, so just so much has changed over the last, few years. And, for the first time, I'm truly, just seeing and helping a lot of people, and doing it straight, doing it right. And also having the opportunity to try to, I try to influence young docs or docs that are maybe coming from a different model and going into straight chiropractic. And the cool thing is that I don't think that I influence them all that much a lot of times, chiropractors were just, I remember I've been in DEs and I've heard the solution, I've heard the answers, and, you just have your own ideas. Right. And so you don't like think that it applies to you. You think you have another way to do it or whatever. And, and the results are, not very good. Um, and so the cool thing about the situation that I'm in now is that, I do I'm kind of like that dorky DE guy who's, trying to remind people about, what our jobs are. Because, a lot of these kids that come out of the schools, man, they don't know. They don't know. They don't know. And, so sometimes I'm that dorky guy that's just kind of getting in the way of like, and I try to talk about serving people and, the principle of chiropractic. But the really cool thing is that in the system that I'm in, statistics are kept on all doctors and they all see those statistics. They know that, so I took that clinic to the last one in the state to now it's about 21st. It's somewhere in the middle of the pack, but we're the second. I'm the second one now in that network of 12 clinics. So we were in last and now we're second. And all the doctors can see that. All the doctors will see, my numbers, the visits, conversions, that kind of thing, which is so funny because the old DE guys used to always talk about numbers. And then for a while it got like really, but, it kind of bruises your ego if you're not seeing as many people as somebody else is. But the last couple of years I've gotten so into the numbers, and what I'm doing. And it keeps the goal out, keeps the goal out in front, and you have something to go for, and shoot for. And so the cool thing is that, numbers don't lie. What's the old saying? Chiropractors do, but numbers don't lie. I think that's pretty funny. So, but, yeah, so that's kind of like, that kind of stuff. And then, so yeah, I my days are, getting up in the morning, I work out, I eat, I do my stretches. I try to keep my body, good because I'm using it a lot more. Then, of course, go into the office, and first thing I do is I, do some mini training with my staff, go over the numbers, and then, just go to it and try to see more people every day. And, And I put here so I would remind myself of it, because it's funny is like I so much, like a lot of this stuff, like every kid that comes in to our network that starts a new job. I mean, it's within a few minutes they're talking about money. I mean, chiropractors are so, um, it's just like it's not even about us. But I think it takes a long time. Like for me, it's like as soon as I quit even thinking about money, I started making more of it, and that's just me. I just once I really got laser focused on, that my job is not to debate people on Facebook. My job is not to get into COVID debates. My job is not to get into any of that. My job is to check it and check and adjust as many people as possible, for subluxations. And I got so clear on that, what my purpose is, to serve God's people by serving them through chiropractic care. That's just everything about my life has changed. And one of the evidences for that is that I had a patient come in tonight, and I did kind of a prone knee chest sort of modified thing, because that's what she needed. And she came up off the table and she was kind of crying. And if you've been practicing for a while, there's that cry of relief that some people get. Like it gets you in the heart, man. You just stand there, and you're just there. You're just being a witness. And the tears are coming down her face, and she just kind of gives me that nod, like it's everything's perfect, And then she said, "Hey, I got you something." And then she walks over to the chair, and she brings me this shirt, and I think it says, "I'm into fitness whole package into your mailbox," right? So she's obviously a mail delivery person, and she was wearing this shirt. Probably not this shirt, this one's new, but she was wearing this shirt like a couple weeks ago, and I told her how cool it was, and and she got one for me. And that's the juice. That's the juice, in this profession. I think, I don't know how much money she makes, but she bought this shirt for me. I mean, so she's so generous. I mean, so generous, so kind to give me this. Today also I had a patient who harvested a deer, made some beef jerky or some jerky, and gave me some venison jerky. I had another patient today who gave me a Applebee's gift card. And it's like all the time. I come in all the time, and I just like unload, and I start just, I'll get bags of candy. I had a guy tip me $60 last week. It's like it's just, what is oh man, why am I forgetting? Oh my God, that's terrible. Clues, success leaves clues, right? That Dr. Mike's always talking about. And, I've been in practice a long time, and, this kind of stuff wasn't always happening. I would see it, I mean, I had a patient, come back from Seattle last week. They were on a trip. They gave me a little refrigerator magnet of like the little Seattle city thing. It's those interactions when you see how much your patients love and appreciate you, that, that's where it's at for me. It reminds me of, why I do what I do. And, and I couldn't imagine, anymore thinking about, much else about that. It's just that connection, because that connection, when I'm with a patient, that's when I feel closest to God, for me. That moment, when I'm touching a human being. I mean, God, how lucky are we that, through a pandemic, I've been within 1 foot of thousands and thousands of people, through this whole thing. And it's really kind of sad, because, I actually was thinking about this earlier, where it's like, if that connection is what it's what makes me feel more connected to God. And think about our whole society right now is trying to stay away from each other. And so, so are we trying to stay away from God? I mean, because it's together, it's that connection is when we're connected to God. And, you know, and that's it. I'm just like, I'm not, I don't know. My message is not, it's more and more and more about being present, loving patients. Absolutely not taking patients for granted. They're not paychecks. They're people that suffer, that struggle. Sometimes, they're miserable, and you have to advocate for them, for their better self, to get them under care. I love skeptics. I love people that just come in and are just nasty, they're just so inappropriate and so nasty, and I don't react anymore. And I just try to advocate for them. Hey, Joe, I know you don't want to be here, and your wife wants you to be here. So listen, I'll try to get you through this as quickly as possible. That way you make your wife happy. And, I'll do my best to try to take care of you. How does that sound, Joe? Yeah, I guess so. That'll be all right. Okay, good. And then, within a couple of visits, turning them around, um, always advocating for the patients. It's a very stressful time for people who don't have faith, and who don't have the principle. Um, I hadn't been worried one bit about nothing through this whole damn pandemic. Not nothing. I mean, I really haven't even participated in it, to be honest with you. Especially here. And, that's another thing that I wanted, all the things that are starting to sink in that are so mysterious, that are hard to understand, like the messages that from Dr. Sid, don't let the left hand know what the right hand is doing, things like that. I'm starting to understand, what that means. But, we're so blessed. We're so blessed to be a part of these people's lives at a time when everybody is just so scared. And we get to love on people, connect with people, connect with our God, through this way. And I think I live a magical life, things don't come always from where you think they're going to come. And, so surrendering to, God's will, that my purpose, because, I'm definitely one of those people that chiropractic found me. I didn't find chiropractic. And so it has been for me, a process of surrendering to, God's purpose for me, God's will for me. And, what's amazing is that, and I always think about this too, when you would hear an old timer at DE would say, hey, I feel like I'm just getting good at this, and I remember sitting in that room and thinking, I mean, I remember going, man, you're just now getting good at this, but I know what that means too, I mean, I can deliver the goods like is nobody's business. And, that's really important also. And just getting better and better and better at it, and getting more and more surrendered at, what the job is. And, and then I get to be a chiropractor, and all kinds of magical things, happen in my life, and all kind of cool things, and the results that the patients get. And, and I guess I'll share this, and start wrapping it up. One night adjusting a patient, and she said, "Hey doc, I want to say something to you." And I said, oh, "Okay." And she goes, No, seriously, listen to me. And I said, "Okay." And she said, "You've absolutely changed my life, and I want you to hear that." And I did. And and I just kind of sat with it. And, I think that's what's, a lot of times, we're the controversy on adjusting videos and, stuff like that, if that should be under, but the thing you can never see on the videos is the connection, that moment that, between us and the patient when they've been suffering, and it's that human to human interaction. And, and they're sharing with you their soul. A couple weeks ago, I adjusted a woman that had been having migraines, and I did a seated cervical adjustment, Atlas. And she did the crying, and her husband, who brought her in, was sitting over there. And me and him looked at each other, and we were both like about to start crying. We were, trying to be kind of tough guys because she was just releasing, I mean, all those years of suffering with migraines, and I mean, it literally gone like this, and that's what you don't really, those videos don't show that, they don't show that connection, that human connection of someone who's been suffering, who's been freed from it, from a chiropractic adjustment. And, on nights like that, man, I just go home, and it's very humbling, it's a very humbling job. And it's an honor to be a chiropractor. But anyway, I think that's all that I got for today. I think that's a good part one. And, I look forward to being able to talk with you guys more in the future. I think we have a very bright future as DE chiropractors, and I love every single one of you. Thank you so much.
Dakota's down at the end. This is what we do. Great job, my man. Thank you.
Love you, brother.
We wore a cowboy shirt. It worked. This is what I had under my cowboy shirt, my Sherman shirt. But we love and appreciate you, man. And
hi, Rachel.
Under my giant shirt. That's right. Yeah, say hi, Ray. And we love you and appreciate you, man. Thanks everybody for being on. And we'll see you 2 weeks. 2 weeks at DE. Night, everybody. See ya.